The council chamber stretched across 3 kilometers of polished crystal floor. 847 species had gathered here. Their representatives floating, sitting, or standing in their designated zones. Ambassador Hyun-Soo Kim walked calmly across the human section, his black uniform crisp and clean. Behind him, Dr. Ji-woo Park carried a small data pad, her expression neutral. Captain Dae-won Lee stood at attention near the exit, his hand resting near his sidearm out of habit. The Supreme Arbiter, a being made of shifting light patterns, began speaking. Its voice echoed through translation devices in every language known to the galaxy. We gather today to address the matter of species designation, Earth Human Sol 3. 47 charges have been filed against this species for violations of galactic harmony protocols. Hyun-Soo remained standing while other species murmured among themselves. Some looked at the humans with disgust. Others seemed curious. A few appeared sympathetic. But they were the minority. The Arbiter continued reading the charges. Unauthorized, stellar engineering. Aggressive colonization patterns. Refusal to share military specifications. Cultural contamination of protected species. The list went on and on. Each charge was technically true, though the context was conveniently missing. Humans had helped terraform a dying world without asking permission first. They had settled in empty space that other species had marked as reserved for future expansion, even though no one lived there. They had politely declined to hand over their weapons technology to a council that had already shown suspicion toward them. But everyone in the room knew what this was really about. 3 years ago, humanity had received standard FTL technology as part of their welcome package to the galactic community. The drive systems were old, reliable, and slow. It took most species thousands of years to fully understand the physics behind faster-than-light travel. Some species still didn't completely understand the technology they used every day. Humanity took 3 years to reverse engineer it, understand it completely, and then improve it by 40%. They built new drives that were faster, more efficient, and cheaper to produce. When the council demanded the blueprints, citing technology sharing agreements, Hyun-Soo had politely refused. Those agreements, he pointed out, only applied to technology received from the council. Technology that humans developed themselves was their own property. The council had not been happy about that answer. The charges are clear, the Arbiter announced. Species Earth Human Sol 3 has demonstrated unwillingness to cooperate with galactic harmony. They advance too quickly. They ask too few questions. They respect too few boundaries. This council cannot allow such chaos to spread. A representative from the Vexian Empire stood up. Its 6 legs clicked against the floor as it spoke. We propose total quarantine, seal the Sol system, revoke all trading privileges, recall all embassies. Humanity must learn that the galaxy operates on cooperation, not competition. Hyun-Soo glanced at Ji-woo. She gave a tiny nod. Everything was proceeding exactly as they had predicted. The vote began. Each species cast its decision. Green light for quarantine. Red light against. The chamber filled with mostly green lights. Some species voted red, mostly the younger civilizations who remembered when they had been in humanity's position. But the old powers, the ones who had controlled the galaxy for millions of years, all voted green. The final count appeared on the central display. 681 in favor. 166 against. Humanity was banned. The decision is made, the Arbiter declared. Effective immediately. Species Earth Human Sol 3 is restricted to the Sol system. All trade agreements are void. All cultural exchanges are terminated. All diplomatic relationships are severed. You have 30 standard days to remove your people from galactic space. The chamber erupted in conversation. Some species celebrated. Others protested. A few looked genuinely sad. Hyun-Soo waited for silence. When the noise continued, he simply stood still, his hands clasped behind his back. Dae-won and Ji-woo stood beside him, equally calm. Finally, the Arbiter noticed. Does the human delegation wish to speak? Yes, Hyun-Soo said. His voice was quiet, but it carried across the chamber. We acknowledge the Council's decision. We respect your right to make this choice. Effective immediately, humanity withdraws from the Galactic Council. We will remove our embassies, our traders, and our citizens within the requested time frame. The Vexian representative clicked its mandibles in satisfaction. Finally, they understand their place. But Hyunsu wasn't finished. We also want to thank the Council for this opportunity. You've given us something we've wanted for quite some time, but couldn't request ourselves. You've given us freedom. Confusion rippled through the chamber. The Arbiter's light patterns shifted uncertainly. Explain. Sev. For 23 years, we've operated under your regulations, Hyunsu continued. We've limited our expansion to zones you approved. We've restricted our research to fields you deemed acceptable. We've held back our capabilities to avoid alarming you. But now you've removed those restrictions. By banning us, you've released us from all galactic law. We're free to expand wherever we choose. We're free to research whatever we want. We're free to become whatever we're capable of becoming. The chamber went silent. This isn't freedom, the Vexian sputtered. This is exile. You'll have no trade partners, no allies, no access to resources beyond your single star system. You'll stagnate and die. Jiwoo smiled for the first time. You assume we need you more than you need us. Arrogant primitives, another species shouted. You've been in space for barely a century. We've navigated the stars for millions of years. Then you should have learned more in that time, Hyunsu replied. He turned toward the exit. We have ships to prepare and people to evacuate. Good luck with your Harmony Council. You're going to need it. He walked toward the door. Jiwoo and Daewon followed. The entire human delegation moved as one, their footsteps echoing in the shocked silence. As they reached their ship, Daewon finally spoke. Sir, was it wise to provoke them like that? They were already provoked, Captain, Hyunsu replied. Fear provoked them. Our competence provoked them. Our potential provoked them. At least now they know we're not afraid. Jiwoo checked her data pad. I'm receiving confirmations from Earth. Admiral Sumin says the fleet is ready. Taehyun reports the new drives are operational. Hana confirms all colony sites are prepared. How long have we been planning this? Daewon asked. Though he already knew the answer. 15 years, Hyunsu said. Since the first day we met the council and realized they would never accept us as equals. They see the galaxy as theirs to manage. They see younger species as children to be controlled. But we're not children, Captain. We're humans. And humans have never responded well to being told what we can't do. Their ship lifted off from the council station. Behind them, 847 species celebrated their victory over the upstart humans. They had no idea that they had just made the biggest mistake in galactic history. On the ship's view screen, Earth appeared in the distance. Their home. Their beginning. And now, their launching point, for something the galaxy had never seen before. Set course for home, Hyunsu ordered. And send a message to Admiral Sumin. Tell her to begin Phase 2. Jiwoo smiled. With pleasure, sir. Welcome to the new age of humanity. 6 months had passed since the ban. The Galactic Council expected humanity to be in chaos by now. They had spy satellites positioned around the Sol system, watching and waiting for the inevitable collapse. After all, how could a single species survive without access to galactic trade routes, exotic materials, and established markets? Admiral Sumin Choi stood on the bridge of the Prometheus, humanity's largest construction vessel. She was 53 years old, with gray streaks in her black hair and eyes that had seen 3 wars. Around her, holographic displays showed hundreds of massive ships gathering in the Kuiper Belt, far beyond Neptune's orbit. Status report, she commanded. A young officer responded immediately. 200 colony ships are fully loaded and ready for departure. Each ship carries 2.5 million people in cryosleep, along with enough equipment to establish full colonies. Total Exodus population, 500 million volunteers. 500 million, Sumin repeated softly. The largest migration in human history. Yes, ma'am. And every single one of them volunteered. We had to turn away 3 billion more applicants. Sumin smiled slightly. That was humanity in a nutshell. Tell them something was impossible, and they'd line up to prove you wrong. She looked at another display showing Earth itself. The planet was busier than ever. When the Council cut off trade, they had expected Earth's economy to crash. Instead, it had grown by 18%. Turns out that when you stopped paying inflated prices for alien technology and started making your own, everything became cheaper and better. Admiral, Engineer Taehyun is requesting permission to come aboard, her communications officer announced. Granted. Send him to my ready room. 5 minutes later, Taehyun Song entered. He was 32 years old but looked younger, with an excited energy that reminded Sumin of a kid on his birthday. In his hands, he carried a data tablet. Admiral, I wanted to personally deliver the final specifications on the fold space drives. Sumin gestured for him to sit. Tell me we're ready. Better than ready, Taehyun said, pulling up equations and diagrams. The Council's FTL technology works by pushing ships through subspace. It's slow, inefficient, and requires massive amounts of energy. Our fold space drives literally fold the space between 2 points. We don't travel faster than light. We make the distance shorter. And this actually works? We've run 300 test flights. The longest was to Alpha Centauri and back. Took 4 hours. The Council's drives would take 6 weeks for the same trip. Sumin leaned back in her chair. You're telling me our ships are roughly 250 times faster than anything the Council has? Closer to 300 times faster when we account for fuel efficiency and recharge time. Taehyun grinned. They expected us to be stuck in Sol's system. Instead, we can reach places they've never even explored. A chime interrupted them. Dr. Hana Yoon's face appeared on the communication screen. She was 47, a xenobiologist who had spent her career studying alien ecosystems. Now she was leading humanity's colonization planning. Admiral, I wanted to update you on the colony sites. We've confirmed 1,847 habitable worlds in unexplored space. All of them are beyond Council territory. Many are actually better than Earth in terms of natural resources. How did we find these worlds when the Council missed them? Sumin asked. Hana smiled. We didn't. The Council knew they were there. But their laws prohibit colonizing worlds that have any native life. Even microbial. It's part of their harmony protocols. They'd rather leave planets empty than risk disturbing local ecosystems. And we don't have that restriction anymore. Sumin finished. Exactly. We'll still be careful and responsible. We're not going to destroy native life, but we can terraform marginal worlds and work with existing ecosystems instead of avoiding them completely. The Council's approach is driven by fear. Ours is driven by adaptation. After Hana disconnected, Sumin returned to the bridge. Through the main view screen, she could see the colony fleet assembling. Each ship was 5 kilometers long, built in secret over the past 15 years. The Council had thought humans were building defensive platforms in the Kuiper Belt. They were half right. The platforms were there. But the real construction had been these massive colony vessels. All ships report ready for departure, her first officer announced. Sumin activated the fleet-wide communication channel. 500 million people would hear her words, even though most were already in cryo-sleep. The message would be played for them when they woke in their new homes. People of Earth, she began. Today we begin the greatest journey in human history. The galaxy tried to cage us, to limit us, to control us. They failed. They didn't make us weaker. They made us free. Every person on these ships chose to be here. You weren't conscripted or forced. You volunteered to build something new, something better than what the Council offers. You're pioneers. You're explorers. You're the future of humanity. She paused, looking at the display showing Earth in the distance. Some people think we're running away. They're wrong. We're not fleeing. We're expanding. We're not hiding. We're exploring. The Council thinks they've contained us, but they've only removed the chains they placed on us themselves. So go forward with courage. Build your colonies. Raise your families. Create new worlds. And remember that you carry Earth with you, not as a memory of home, but as a promise of what humans can achieve when nobody tells us we can't. The bridge crew applauded. Across the fleet, similar reactions rippled through the awakened crew members. Admiral, her navigation officer called out. "We're receiving confirmation codes from all 200 ships. Everyone is ready. Then let's show them what humanity can do. All ships, engage fold space drives on my mark." She watched the countdown clock. 3, 2, 1. Mark. The colony ships vanished. One moment they were there, visible on all sensors. The next moment, they were gone, folded into space itself. The Council's spy satellites would detect the energy signatures, but they wouldn't understand them. They'd search for months trying to figure out where humanity went. On Earth, in secret laboratories and factories, work continued. Synthetic materials that replaced alien imports. New weapon systems, based on human ingenuity, rather than borrowed technology. Cultural exports that other species craved but could no longer access legally. The black market for human entertainment had exploded. Alien species were paying premium prices for human music, movies, and art. In the conference room beneath Geneva, President Hyun-Soo Kim met with his cabinet. "The exodus is complete," he announced. 500 million colonists are on their way to new worlds. Production is up. Morale is up. Economically, we're stronger than we've ever been. "What about the Council?" someone asked. "They're confused," Hyun-Soo replied. "They expected us to beg for readmission. Instead, we're thriving. Several species that voted against the ban are already requesting secret trade agreements. They need what we produce. They just can't admit it publicly. And our military status? Captain Daewon reports that all defensive platforms are operational. If the Council tries to enforce the quarantine with force, they'll find Sol System is now the most heavily defended location in known space." As the meeting continued, far beyond human space, the colony ships began arriving at their destinations. One by one, 500 million people would wake up on new worlds. They would build cities, farms, and factories. They would terraform planets and establish societies. And they would do it all without asking permission from a council that no longer had any authority over them. The galaxy had tried to isolate humanity. Instead, they had unleashed them. 5 years had passed since the ban, and the Galactic Council was beginning to panic. Not because humanity was causing problems, but because humanity had gone completely silent. Ambassador Yong-Soo Han sat in his small apartment on Station Twilight, a neutral space station that existed outside Council jurisdiction. He was 60 years old now, one of the few humans who had chosen to stay in galactic space rather than return to Sol System. His position was unofficial. Officially, he was just a retired diplomat who ran a small import business. Unofficially, he watched everything and reported back to Earth through encrypted channels. His communication console chimed. A Vexian merchant appeared on screen, its 6 legs twitching nervously. "Ambassador Han, I need to speak with you about the human situation." "I'm not an ambassador anymore," Yong-Soo replied calmly. "The Council made that clear. But I'll listen as a private citizen. My business is failing. Before the ban, I imported human entertainment programs. Music, movies, games. My species loved them. Now I have nothing to sell, and my competitors who still have old inventory are charging 10 times the original price. That sounds like a market problem, not a human problem. Can you get me new content? I'll pay anything." "The demand is incredible." Yong-Soo shook his head. "Even if I wanted to help, I can't. Sol System is completely sealed. No communication in or out. I haven't heard from Earth in 3 years. This was technically true. He hadn't heard from Earth through normal channels. The encrypted quantum transmissions were another matter, but the Vexian didn't need to know that. After the merchant disconnected, Yong-Soo poured himself tea and reviewed the latest intelligence. The galaxy was changing in ways the Council hadn't anticipated. 43 species had reported sightings of human colonies in unexplored sectors. These weren't small outposts. They were massive settlements, some with populations exceeding 50 million. The colonies had appeared seemingly overnight, already terraformed and defended. When Council scouts tried to investigate, they found their sensors couldn't properly track human ships. The vessels appeared and disappeared like ghosts. Economic data was even more interesting. 17 species that had built their economies around human trade were now in recession. The council had promised to fill the gap with alternative suppliers, but nobody else made entertainment as engaging as humans. Nobody else innovated as rapidly. Nobody else offered the same quality at competitive prices. Meanwhile, the 166 species that had voted against the ban were thriving. They had quietly negotiated trade agreements with human colonies outside council space. The council officially condemned this, but couldn't actually stop it. Human territory was beyond their jurisdiction now. A priority message appeared on Yongsu's secure channel. It was from Council Intelligence, marked urgent. They wanted to meet. 2 hours later, Yongsu sat across from 3 Council Intelligence officers in a private room. They looked uncomfortable. "We need your help," the senior officer said. She was from a species that resembled floating jellyfish, her translucent body pulsing with bioluminescent patterns. "We've been trying to penetrate the Sol system barrier for 3 years. Nothing works. No ships can enter. No signals can pass through. It's like the entire system is wrapped in an impenetrable shell. And you want me to do what exactly? Tell us what they're building in there. Tell us what they're planning." Yongsu sipped his tea slowly. "I don't know. I'm cut off like everyone else. We don't believe you. Humans always have backup plans. You know something, perhaps. But even if I did, why would I tell you? You banned my species. You isolated my homeworld. You expected us to collapse. Now you're upset that we're not begging for readmission?" The intelligence officer leaned forward. "Do you know what's really happening out there? We've confirmed human presence in over 200 star systems. 200. In 5 years, that's more expansion than the Council achieved in the last 500 years. How is that possible? Maybe humans are just better at it than you are." "That's not an answer." Yongsu set down his tea. "You want an answer? Fine. Humans don't think like you do. When you face a challenge, you form committees, debate protocols, and seek consensus. When humans face a challenge, they solve it. You spent millions of years perfecting FTL travel. We improved it in 3 years. You debate colonization ethics for decades before settling a single world. We identify a planet and have 1 million people living there within a year. The difference isn't resources or technology. It's mindset. That's arrogant. No, it's observation. You asked me here to learn about humanity. I'm telling you. We don't wait for permission. We don't overthink. We act." One of the other officers spoke up. "We've detected energy signatures from human ships that our sensors can't properly analyze." "What kind of technology are they using?" "How would I know? I haven't been to Sol system in 5 years, but you must have some idea." Yongsu considered his response carefully. "When the Council gave us FTL technology, you gave us the keys to the galaxy. But those keys were old, slow, and inefficient. So we made better keys. That's what humans do. We improve things." The lead officer's bioluminescence flickered with frustration. "The Council is considering sending a military fleet to Sol system to verify that humanity isn't developing weapons of mass destruction. That would be a mistake. Why? Because you have no idea what you're flying into. You banned us 5 years ago. Do you really think we've spent that time doing nothing? We've had 5 years of unrestricted development. 5 years without your regulations, your inspections, your limitations. 5 years to become whatever we're capable of becoming." The officers exchanged glances. The lead officer spoke again. "Are you threatening the Council?" "No. I'm giving you free advice. Leave Sol system alone. Focus on your own space. Humanity isn't your problem anymore. We're not in your territory. We're not subject to your laws. We're just another civilization pursuing our own path. But you're expanding too quickly. You're disrupting established territorial claims. Territorial claims in empty space that nobody was using? That's not disruption. That's efficiency." The meeting ended shortly after. As Yongsu walked back to his apartment, he couldn't help but smile. The Council was terrified. Even if they wouldn't admit it, they had built their entire civilization on slow, careful, cautious growth. Then humans appeared, and did in 5 years what took them millennia. Back in his apartment, he activated his quantum communicator. President Hyun-soo Kim's face appeared. "Report," Hyun-soo said. "Council intelligence is panicking. They can't penetrate the Sol system barrier. They can't track our ships properly. They're detecting our colonies but can't explain how we built them so fast. And their economy is struggling without access to human goods." "Good. What about military action?" "They're considering it, but they're afraid. They have no intelligence on our capabilities. They're flying blind." Hyun-soo nodded. "Dr. Minji Bei's ghost protocol is working perfectly then. How long until they crack?" 6 months. Maybe a year. Several species are already demanding the ban be lifted. The Council's authority is weakening. IFT. Excellent. Continue monitoring. And Young-soo? Be ready to evacuate on short notice. Things are about to get interesting. The transmission ended. Young-soo looked out his window at the stars. Somewhere out there, human colonies were growing. Human ships were exploring. Human civilization was evolving without asking anyone's permission. The Council thought they had contained humanity. Instead, they had freed them from every restriction. Now they were learning a lesson that every human child knew instinctively. Telling humans they can't do something is the surest way to guarantee they'll find a way to do it anyway. And they would do it better than anyone expected. The distress signal reached the Galactic Council at 0300 Standard Time. Vex Prime, one of the founding worlds of the Council, was under attack. The enemy was unknown, hostile, and unstoppable. Fleet Admiral Dong-jun Park received the same signal 3 minutes later at Earth's military command. He was 55 years old, broad-shouldered, with scars on his face from the resource wars that had unified Earth decades ago. He had warned the Council 7 years ago that their military was built for show, not for actual combat. They hadn't listened. "Get me President Kim," he ordered. Within minutes, Hyun-soo's face appeared on the main screen. Behind him, emergency sessions of Parliament were already beginning. "You've seen the report?" Hyun-soo asked. "Yes, sir. The Devourers. We've been tracking them for 2 years. Dong-jun pulled up tactical displays. "They're from outside our galaxy. Biological ships. Each the size of a small moon. They consume entire planets, breaking them down for raw materials. The Council's weapons can't penetrate their armor. How many worlds have they taken?" 4 so far. Vex Prime will be the 5th if we don't intervene. Total casualties are estimated at 40 billion lives. Hyun-soo closed his eyes briefly. "What's our military status?" "We have 3,000 warships ready for deployment. Our fleet is designed for exactly this kind of threat. Asymmetrical warfare against superior numbers. We can help. The question is, should we help? The Council banned us, isolated us, expected us to fail. Half of Parliament wants to let them face the consequences of their arrogance, and the other half wants to save innocent lives regardless of politics. What's your recommendation, Admiral?" Dong-jun looked at the tactical display showing Vex Prime. Billions of civilians were dying while the Council's fleet failed to protect them. He thought about his daughter, safe on Earth, and imagined her on one of those burning worlds. "We help," he said firmly. "Not because they deserve it. Because we're better than they are. Because when you have the power to save lives and choose not to, you're complicit in their deaths. We help because that's what humans do." Hyun-soo smiled slightly. "I was hoping you'd say that." Dr. Ji-woo Park cast the deciding vote in Parliament 5 minutes ago, with almost the exact same words. "You're authorized to deploy the fleet. Show them what Earth can do." 2 hours later, the human fleet decloaked in the Kuiper Belt. 3,000 warships, each one built with technology the Council didn't understand. Lieutenant Yoonji Ryu sat in her interceptor cockpit, running pre-flight checks. She was 26 years old, the youngest pilot to achieve ace status in simulation training. "All wings report ready," her squadron commander announced. "Ghost Squadron standing by." Yoonji confirmed. Around her, 49 other interceptors prepared for combat. These ships were small, fast, and deadly. They used fold space drives for microjumps, appearing and disappearing in combat like their namesake ghosts. Admiral Dongjun's voice came over the fleet channel. All ships. This is Admiral Park. We're about to enter Council space for the first time in 7 years. We're not going as supplicants or beggars. We're going as saviors. The Devourers think they can consume entire civilizations without consequence. Let's teach them that humanity doesn't allow genocide in our galaxy. Man. The fleet engaged fold space drives. The journey to Vex Prime took 6 hours. By standard Council FTL, it would have taken 3 months. They emerged in a war zone. Vex Prime burned beneath them. Council ships desperately tried to defend the planet, but their weapons were useless. The Devourer ships were massive biological constructs, their hulls regenerating faster than the Council could damage them. All wings, engage at will. Dongjun ordered. Remember your training. These things are alive. Target their neural centers and propulsion organs. Unji's interceptor shot forward. The Council ships scattered in confusion. They didn't recognize human designs. For a moment, she thought they might fire on her wing, then they saw what Ghost Squadron could do. Her fighter folded space, appearing directly behind a Devourer ship. She fired her primary weapon, a quantum disruptor that didn't just damage matter, but unraveled it at the molecular level. The beam cut through the biological armor like a hot knife through butter. The Devourer ship shuddered as its neural center exploded. She folded space again, appearing kilometers away. Behind her, the massive alien ship began to collapse. "Splash one," she called out. "These things bleed like everything else." Across the battlefield, human tactics overwhelmed the Devourers. Ghost Squadron used hit-and-run attacks, appearing just long enough to deliver devastating strikes before vanishing. Heavier human cruisers deployed gravitational weapons that crushed Devourer ships like tin cans. Carriers launched swarms of drones that worked in perfect coordination, attacking weak points simultaneously. The Council forces watched in amazement. Human ships moved with precision that seemed impossible. They anticipated Devourer movements, adapted to new tactics instantly, and fought with an efficiency that seemed almost mechanical. What the Council didn't know was that every human ship was connected through quantum networks. Information flowed between them instantaneously. When one ship learned something, every ship knew it. Human forces didn't just fight as individuals, they fought as a single, coordinated intelligence. A massive Devourer ship, larger than all the others, emerged from fold space. It launched biological missiles at Vex Prime's major cities. Admiral Dongjun saw them coming. "Flagship Indomitable, intercept those missiles. I don't care if you have to put the ship between them and the planet." "Sir, that will expose us to—" "I gave you an order, Captain." The Indomitable, Admiral Dongjun's command ship, positioned itself in the missile path. Its shields absorbed impacts that would have destroyed Council vessels. Point defense lasers cut down hundreds of biological projectiles. A few got through, but the ship's armor held. Unji watched from her cockpit and made a decision. "Go, Squadron. Form up on me. We're taking down that big one." "Lieutenant, that's not in the tactical plan," her commander warned. "Plans change. That thing is commanding the others. We cut off the head, the body dies." 50 interceptors converged on the massive Devourer command ship. They folded in and out of space, attacking from every angle. Their quantum disruptors focused on one target, the massive neural cluster visible through gaps in the organic armor. The Devourer ship tried to swat them like flies, but human ships were too fast, too coordinated. One by one, the disruptors carved into the neural center. The command ship's movements became erratic. Its weapons fire grew wild and uncontrolled. "Now!" Unji shouted. All 50 ships fired simultaneously at the exact same point. The neural center exploded. The command ship began to break apart. Without coordination, the remaining Devourer ships faltered. Human forces pressed their advantage. 36 hours after entering the battle, the last Devourer ship was destroyed. Vex Prime was saved. Admiral Dongjun opened a channel to the Council fleet. "This is Fleet Admiral Dongjun Park of Earth Defense Forces. Vex Prime is secure. We're transmitting tactical data on Devourer weaknesses to all Council ships. Use it to defend your other worlds. The Council fleet commander appeared on screen. He was a Vexian, one of the species that had voted for humanity's ban. His mandibles trembled as he spoke. You saved us. After everything we did to your species, you saved us. We didn't do it for you, Dongjun replied. We did it because billions of innocent people would have died if we didn't. That's the difference between us, Commander. You see politics and protocols. We see lives worth saving. He closed the channel and addressed his fleet. All ships. Set course for the 14 Council worlds, still under Devourer attack. We're not done yet. Over the next week, human forces appeared at every threatened world. They drove off Devourer ships, saved countless lives, and shared their tactical data freely. By the time the crisis ended, humanity had saved an estimated 200 billion lives across 14 species. Admiral Dongjun sent one final message to the Galactic Council before the human fleet departed. Consider this a one-time intervention. We've repaid any debt we might have owed you for your initial welcome to galactic society. From this point forward, humanity operates independently. We're not your enemies, but we're not your servants either. We're simply another civilization, doing what we think is right. Don't contact us unless you're ready to treat us as equals. The human fleet folded space and vanished, leaving the Council to face an uncomfortable truth. The species they had banned was now the species that had saved them all. 10 years had passed since the ban. The galaxy was a different place now. Director Woojin Shin stood on the observation deck of New Seoul Station, looking down at the planet Nova Terra below. The station orbited the first human colony established after the Exodus, and now Nova Terra was home to 3 billion people from 40 different species. Not just humans anymore. The galaxy had changed. Woojin was 43 years old, elected leader of the Human Commonwealth 3 years ago. The Commonwealth wasn't an empire. It wasn't even a traditional government. It was a voluntary association of species who chose to work together as equals. 342 species had applied to join. All had been accepted. His communication device chimed. Captain Sang-hee Moon's face appeared. She was 39, commander of the Endeavor, the first ship with a truly mixed crew. Humans, Vexians, and members of 17 other species, all working together. Director, we're ready to depart for the unexplored zone. Our mission is to chart new systems and make contact with any species we find. Remember the protocols, Captain. We're explorers, not conquerors. We ask permission, we share knowledge, and we respect boundaries. Understood, sir. It's strange, though. 10 years ago, we were banned from the galaxy. Now we're leading exploration missions with species that used to fear us. Woojin smiled. People change when you give them the chance. Safe travels, Captain. After the transmission ended, Woojin walked to his office for his daily briefing. His chief of staff was waiting with updates. The former Galactic Council officially dissolved this morning, she reported. The Galactic Assembly has been established in its place. Democratic, representative, and open to all species regardless of age or technological development. How many council members voted for the change? All of them. Even the species that originally opposed it admitted the old system wasn't working. The Devourer crisis proved that. Woojin reviewed the report. The old council had been an oligarchy, controlled by the oldest and most powerful species. They made decisions for everyone else, claiming wisdom and experience, but when real danger came, their system had failed. They had been too slow to adapt, too rigid to innovate, too afraid to change. Humanity had changed all that. Not through conquest or force, but by offering an alternative. The Commonwealth didn't demand loyalty or tribute. It offered partnership. Species kept their sovereignty, their culture, their independence. In return, they gained access to human technology, trade networks, and most importantly, the freedom to develop at their own pace. What's the economic report? Woojin asked. The Commonwealth Free Trade Zone is now the largest economic market in galactic history. Trade volume has increased by 300% in the last 5 years. Unemployment across all member species is at record lows. Even species that aren't Commonwealth members are requesting trade agreements. And the species that voted for our original ban? Most have applied for Commonwealth membership. We've accepted them all. Ambassador Yong-Su recommended we show them that we don't hold grudges. Wu Jin nodded. Yong-Su was wise. Revenge was expensive and pointless. Progress was better than punishment. That afternoon, Wu Jin attended a lecture at the New Geneva Academy, humanity's premier educational institution. Dr. Ji Woo Park was speaking. She was elderly now, in her 70s, but still sharp and energetic. The auditorium was packed with students from dozens of species. Let me tell you about the day the galaxy tried to cage humanity, Ji Woo began. Her voice carried easily through the hall. The council expected us to beg. They expected panic, collapse, desperation. Do you know what they got instead? A young student raised their hand. They got humanity at its best? No, Ji Woo smiled. They got humanity being human. We didn't become better because of the ban. We were always capable of everything we achieved. The ban just removed the restrictions that were holding us back. She pulled up a holographic display showing human expansion over the past decade. In 10 years, we established over 400 colonies, welcomed billions of immigrants from other species, developed new technologies, saved 200 billion lives during the Devourer crisis, and fundamentally changed how galactic civilization operates. The council thought isolation was punishment. They gave us freedom, another student asked. But wasn't it hard? Weren't you afraid? Of course we were afraid. Fear is natural. But fear and action aren't opposites. You can be afraid and still move forward. That's what courage actually is. The council let fear stop them from change. We let fear motivate us to prepare for challenges. After the lecture, Wu Jin met privately with Ji Woo in her office. You're still teaching the same lesson, he said, because it's still true. The galaxy needed to learn that progress comes from freedom, not control. Species thrive when you trust them, not when you restrict them. Some species are saying humans saved the galaxy. Ji Woo shook her head firmly. No, we didn't save the galaxy. We showed the galaxy how to save itself. There's a difference. If we had established our own empire, replaced the council with human authority, we would have just repeated their mistakes. Instead, we stepped back and let species choose their own paths. That's why the Commonwealth works, Wu Jin agreed. It's not about human leadership, it's about voluntary cooperation. That evening, Wu Jin returned to the observation deck. A former council member, a floating jellyfish-like being from the species that had once interrogated Ambassador Yong-Su, approached him. Director Shin, may I speak with you? Of course. I need to ask you something. How did you do it? How did humanity turn exile into triumph? How did you go from being banned to being the model everyone wants to follow? Wu Jin looked down at Nova Terra, where human and alien children played together in the streets of the capital city. He could see the lights of homes, schools, factories, all built through cooperation between species that once feared each other. You're asking the wrong question, he said gently. You're treating our success as something mysterious or magical. It's not. We just applied simple principles consistently. What principles? First, we didn't wait for permission. When the galaxy said we couldn't do something, we found a way to do it anyway. Second, we invested in people instead of protocols. We spent resources on education, innovation, and infrastructure, rather than bureaucracy. Third, we shared everything: technology, knowledge, culture. We didn't hoard it or sell it at inflated prices. But those principles aren't unique to humans. Any species could follow them. Exactly. Wu Jin smiled. That's the point. There's nothing special about humanity except that we were willing to try. The council had become comfortable with the way things were. They stopped innovating, stopped taking risks, stopped growing. We didn't have that option. You forced us to adapt or die. We chose adaptation. And now the galaxy is learning that those old limitations were self-imposed. Species can grow faster than the council allowed. Technology can advance more rapidly. Cooperation can replace competition. The Commonwealth isn't a human achievement. It's what becomes possible when species stop limiting themselves. The former council member was quiet for a long moment. We made a terrible mistake 10 years ago. Yes, you did. But you're making up for it now. That's what matters. Below them, a transport ship landed at the main spaceport. Wu Jin could see immigrants from 6 different species disembarking, coming to start new lives on Nova Terra. A decade ago, this would have been impossible. Now, it was routine. His communication device chimed. It was a message from Earth. President Hyun-soo Kim was retiring, and the election for his replacement was complete. The new president was a former colonist from one of the frontier worlds, Democracy in Action. Captain Sang Hee-moon's ship, the Endeavour, was already 3 systems into unexplored space. Her reports showed promising new worlds and signs of previously unknown civilizations. The galaxy was larger than anyone had imagined. And humanity? Humanity was doing what it had always done best. Pushing boundaries, breaking rules that didn't make sense, and proving that the impossible was just difficult in disguise. Wu Jin looked up at the stars. Somewhere out there, the Devourers still existed, defeated but not destroyed. Other threats would emerge eventually. New challenges would arise, but the galaxy was ready now. The Commonwealth had shown that cooperation was stronger than isolation, that freedom produced better results than control, that trust built more than fear ever could. The galaxy hadn't banned Earth. Not really. The galaxy had freed Earth to become what it was always meant to be. Not a conqueror or ruler, but an example, a reminder that every species, no matter how young or how different, had the potential to achieve greatness if given the chance. Wu Jin smiled and returned to his quarters. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, new opportunities, new adventures. But tonight, he could rest knowing that humanity had done exactly what it set out to do. They had walked away from the galaxy's restrictions and built something better. And in doing so, they had taught the galaxy to dream again.